Take off! It's time for Doug and Ben's great NASCAR adventure!
Thank you, as always, Marshall, and welcome, yes, to NasCanucks right here on YouTube, the #1 rated NASCAR podcast on YouTube, as rated by us, and Terry, and Keith, who has a birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday in advance to Keith. So we got lots of racing action to talk about. 7 races in total will be covered this evening across 6 series. I was like, only one had a doubleheader, Ben. 7 races, that means 6 series. So we were at the tricky triangle of Pocono. We had all the racing going on at Pocono, and shown repeatedly throughout the weekend why it was great. They extended the wall separating pit road from the front stretch by 100 feet or so a few years ago. Hey, Jeremy. So starting off...
More on Jeremy's stuff later.
More on that later. Yeah, we'll get to that later. Anyway, start Friday. We had ARCA that had a longer race than the trucks. More laps than the trucks.
Nice. Yeah. But did they have more entries?
No. We had the Canadian girl there again. She did her usual thing. Anywho's, it was pretty much, another one of those, hey, drop the green flag. And I think 4 cars had an extra gear. And Brandon Jones was in the race.
Okay,
yep. I don't think he won the race. I think I fell asleep during the race. I don't remember who won the race. It was that much of a...
I don't remember either.
It was just so spread out immediately. And then with the silly modified pit stops and, you can get tires but not gas. Why? Dumb. If you can't afford to have a whole pit crew there, you don't have a professional race team then. That's kind of how it works. So, I don't know, probably a veteran car one.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Qualifying for the trucks was rained out.
Yep.
Notification.
I know that Stephen Parsons got a lesson in social media.
Oh.
Yep. Do not post on Twitter a picture of a very large puddle and say, if I get, 5,000 retweets, I will go for a swim, because then you'll get 15,000 retweets. And by the time you go for that said swim, it will be dried up to just a little bit of a nothing. So then he took a picture of himself just laying in a cup of water, I guess.
He was laying in the wet spot.
Yep.
Hashtag laying in the wet spot. Anyways, so brings us into the truck race. It was short, very short.
Big race for Todd Bodine, his 800th start.
Yep.
And I think 1 or 2, maybe many questions for him before the race, because he was getting hard to talk before the race.
Yeah.
You can see that there was
basically hometown track. He's from Shimon, New York, for those who don't know, part of the Bodine racing family. I think their dad owned a track.
Yes.
That's how they grew. I knew they grew up in race. I couldn't remember if their dad was a racer or owned a track.
Yeah, he owned a track. He said the name of said track before the race, but I don't remember it.
Oh yeah, there's so many down in upstate New York. It's crazy. So yeah, modified country, big time. So I don't know. It was a bit of follow the leader. Like Chandler Smith had a great truck. Is that the whole story? Chandler Smith had a great truck.
Yeah, and then as I know your
Which was
favorite
a bit of
driver
a
in the
theme
series.
for the entire weekend in many ways, across series.
Mm-hmm. Your favorite driver took out Todd Bodine in the
My
wreck.
favorite driver?
Yeah, the one you talk about the most.
Well, I like Parker. I hope he gets a better ride.
I wasn't
I don't
talking
think he's
about
going to be
him.
driving as teammate to Friesen next year.
I wasn't talking about him.
Oh. Yes, Ricky Evans land.
The one truck came down and clipped.
Oh.
The
superstar.
Yes.
Alleged.
Yes.
Alleged. Yeah. No.
But, yeah. And it took him out. Then he made.
Where did he learn how to drive? I don't know. Over the course of decades, because he's been doing it longer professionally, and you've been on this earth.
Yeah. So yeah, which then it did not take him long to say maybe there'll be an 801.
Yes.
After his interview afterwards.
You know what? I'd like to see Martinsville. And not just because it's a short track, but he would have a history at Martinsville running modifieds, late models, things like that. Although he didn't have much of an amateur. Like when he ran a bit in the Northeast and then immediately came down south, and it was something like his fourth or fifth professional start was in the Busch Series type thing. But remember, Busch Series back then, it was essentially local track racing for the North Carolina area because they're more or less just building late models. And so, and they had that series at Charlotte Motor Speed, like a weekly Busch Series ran there. I think it was kind of a Busch ARCA thing, old Busch cars ran weekly. Other than that, and it was nice, the Stuart Friesen Holman Racing put together that deal for Todd to come in, and of course the Campy World dude say, I'll sponsor it, because he'll sponsor anything that generates any kind of news, and that's fine. Helps promote the series. Speaking of which, I want to shout out again. Was it Street and Sport podcast? Connor Daly. You really need to check that out. 2 weeks in a row, so much inside baseball was spoken, and it's really cool to see because they talk about it from because Connor is younger than us, but he grew up around it, and they did a nice interview with Graham Rahal, who again grew up around it, and they grew up together, like their moms are best friends type thing. So they were saying where we need to go, where we should go, and they were saying when they were testing out at Iowa, the fact that they're back at Iowa, and it was because the sponsor said we want to be in Iowa because they're out of that area. Hy-Vee, more on that. Oh, did you see photos from Iowa Speedway? Holy crap!
No, I didn't.
You have your normal grandstand. Well, they built their own grandstand, damn near the same size, covered tent style, hanging out right at the track type. Awesome. So that was really cool to see. So it was Chandler Smith that won the truck race, wasn't it?
Yes. I'm just trying to see just the championship.
And that was the cutoff or the playoffs.
Yeah, that's the playoffs. Yeah. So Zane Smith wins the regular season.
Right.
The other Smith. Well, I was just trying to see. I know Stuart Friesen did make it.
Yeah, because he won a race.
Yeah.
Texas.
So
Texas, I think. I want to say Texas.
Yeah. So they start their playoffs next week.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's kind of like kids hockey, right? It's 2 months before the NHL playoffs start. Kids hockey playoffs. And then as the kids get older, the hockey starts a week. The playoffs start a week later. Yeah. So I'm thinking, okay, so how was the order of the events? So I guess we'd cover Xfinity next.
Sure. Because I didn't watch the other two. So.
Well, I caught the highlights because TSN decided to give me lacrosse, outdoor lacrosse even, so not even the good lacrosse, outdoor lacrosse.
And this time, it recorded for me, so I got to watch it.
Right. So I got the highlights, and I was looking forward to the highlights, even though I knew who won, but it sounded like a good race. And all I can say is, from what the limited, because I'm going to let you speak more, but all I can say is young Ty Gibbs should really take some driving lessons from Denny Hamlin when running on the inside of the tunnel turn. Just saying. because he could have had another win.
Yeah.
He ran, as much as I've been slagging on the kid for running dirty, there's exceptions to the rule. And if it's a Chastain or a Gregson on the outside of you, who was consistently running him down, pinching him off so he couldn't get a good entry to the corner, just run out to the wall. He has a choice. He can let off or not.
We'll talk about that in a minute. But for me, it was just like the Truck Series was just not a bad race. It
well, there was some action. Jeb Burton once again.
Let me finish. There was that thing. It felt like it was just a race, and with a wreck,
a big wreck,
right? Yeah, and Jeb Burton, split second to make it. Do I go left or do I go right?
Yeah.
And I think if he would have went left, he wouldn't have made it past those.
I think he would have clipped the barrels with the tail end of his vehicle and would have loop to loop. Like, okay, much like before the wall was there extended and Jeb Burton went down pit road and took out all the helmets. They changed that rule of. Remember, the teams used to all put their helmets on pit road to keep them aired out. I don't know. And man, that just looked like, because they showed it on Sunday especially, again, because they had issues with all weekend with guys just keep turning off left. They just kept turning.
Yep.
And to see those helmets going off like bottle rockets is just...
Well, what I would equate it to would be like almost like the movie Slapshot with the Hansons going down the boards with the stick on the bench, right? Popping each guy off.
And you see the dude, the dudes that always have the black slacks and the white dress shirt, short sleeve.
Yep.
And with some subtle logo. It might even be white as well, so you're not sure. They all look like they work for Penske. And they sometimes have a clip, and you see them all this because they're walking down that walkway. Look out! Because the crew members always hit the deck.
Just saying with Keith there, I'm not sure. He may be talking about the Michigan with Mark Martin.
Yes.
Where he pinned her on the pit wall.
Yeah. Yeah, that was bad. Yeah.
But no, so Jeb, and you and I kind of talked a bit off air about it, that I thought the NBC coverage of the whole thing was really good, because Jeff Burton really, even though he said he's never been upside down, he really said step by step what they were doing with each thing. And what the guy was probably saying to Jeb, what was all going on. And I thought, for a newer fan, I thought that would have been like great for them to kind of inside.
We don't have a lot of cars on roofs. We don't have a lot of cars on roofs anymore.
No.
This year is an exception to the rule, but we don't have a lot of cars on roofs. It used to be pretty commonplace. And think of Pocono. You think of Rusty Wallace, Davey Allison, Bobby Allison. Where it's all asphalt now, or they put a wall out on the inside wall. Yeah. That used to be back like 50 feet and it was all sod, and Elliott Sadler damn near killed himself because he went through the barriers, and then it was a hill and a light standard or something. Yep. It was so pretty rough, but there was turn 3 was Calamity Corner, or as Dale Jr. called it in the coverage, turn 4.
But just the way they went, and kudos to the safety crew there as well. For like that guy was right down on him, like quick, getting him.
Because that's a big track. It's not like at Bristol where they're stationed every 20 feet.
And before he even gave the thumbs up that he was okay to the fans, we knew he was okay because we heard him on the radio.
Yeah. But
no, just and then even the way they put the car down soft, like
Yeah. So, Doug, have you noticed the difference in coverage now they have the traveling team and not just whoever gets hired at any particular track? I think we noticed an improvement.
Yeah.
These guys, the AMS crew, which is same guys that do IndyCar as well. I don't know if it's a professional like someone started a company, like much how Joe Gibbs has the side business with pit crews.
Yeah.
Everything is becoming more developed. if that's a professional company that just does motorsports in general, you know, and they have FIA sanctioning, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
good. Okay.
Well,
You know,
and for
like,
them, you got to say the drivers are going to know that they're, it's the same guys each time. They're not getting just,
yeah, well, remember back in the day with like IndyCar, it was Dr. Jerry Trammell, one of the best surgeons in the world, and he was the guy over your cockpit pulling you out of a car. You're like, I know I'm in safe hands because, that guy. Yeah. Oh, and then sometimes we had Dr. Jerry punch down pit road too, which didn't hurt either. Yeah. Which he did come in on a couple of occasions, I remember, with pit road injuries.
Mm-hmm.
He's down there. He's like, well, time to put my doctor hat on.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It reminded me, because, Pocono, it does lend itself to a road course style race.
Yeah.
At times, especially when the field spreads out, the laps are just under a minute. Allgaier was doing well for a good portion of the race, but it was, again, kind of the usual suspects. Allgaier, Gibbs, and we knew Gregson was going to end up in the hunt, and Josh Berry was in the mix. And that's just I saw it like from the highlights because I only got highlights, but one of my bones to pick too is what is it with these, if we're going to have a 3-stage race, why is the second and third stages the same length, like for the last while? That's really annoying. Just do 2 quick ones, get them out of the way, or finally a driver stepped up. Thank you, Kevin Harvick, saying, do we have to throw a caution at the end of the stage? No, we don't.
No.
Thank you, Harvick. Anyways, so so it came down to a duel. With Gibbs and Gregson
for the last 20 laps.
Oh no, they put on a clinic. They put on a clinic of aggressive driving.
Well, yeah, and the whole thing is that it's if you're gonna think of 2 drivers in the Xfinity Series right now who are gonna take each other out, it's gonna be those 2.
Yeah,
they're not gonna drive.
Really, in many ways, because I thought it was like I say, very aggressive and a bit reckless. Like the driving down stuff, but then. That's what the Xfinity's for. You get that out of your system before you do that in Cup. So, in theory. But it's just fueling that speculation of does Gibbs get moved up a bit early, which is just fun to talk about anyways.
He's not.
Which could happen for a variety of reasons. But that's far, no. That's
not going to happen.
Well, we don't know yet about that yet. Depends on contracts, too.
Well, yeah.
That's what I was just saying. So that brings us into Saturday later in the afternoon, evening. Go out to Des Moines, Newton, Iowa, technically. IndyCar was back with Hy-Vee doing a huge thing, and they're pouring money. They're sponsoring cars and tracks and blah. It's just you knew Hy-Vee was sponsoring commercials or whatever. They were all over it. Excuse me. Another good-sized field, and Doug, we've slagged the guy for years, but Jimmy Johnson put on
2 top 10s. 2 top 10s, including a top 5.
Dude, in the first race, right? Because you've seen enough Indy races at Iowa, like typical offline, you get the marbles and stuff. What's up, Guitar Man 45? So there was 2 lines, let's say 2.5, really, right? Jimmy was just doing the Tyler Wright, just rim riding that line, just pushing the cushion the whole way. And he was passing like 2 cars in the corner stuff. But it was one of those 1-2 cars were faster than the rest of the field. Like Newgarden had the field waxed to the point where it was just they were lapping up to 5th place between fuel runs and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Newgarden won the first race. Yeah. He's now led something like 1,200 career laps at the place. So it was, and like I say, Jimmy Johnson, as much as we've what's he got to prove? That's the thing, And then the next day, he was saying, well, I got to figure this out again because I gave away the secret, because everybody's going to start running high. So I got to figure it different. And he still came back with another good run.
Yeah,
and we'll say how it's another, the fact that it's 2 races in one weekend, it's not just, hey, I was here a year ago. What's going on?
Yep.
So, good on him for doing it. Like he's in good equipment, obviously running for Ganassi, but It's not like Ganassi's teams are running 1 through 4 every week.
Mm-hmm.
They're there. They're in the mix, the same as Penske and Andretti Autosport, bet here and there. Colton Herta is I think he's the fastest raw talent in the series right now. So, but it was pretty darn fast. It's like, we're going to run 250 laps. All right, we're going to do that in an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
What? Okay. But yeah, fun, entertaining, and I was looking forward to it after listening / watching the podcast where Graham and Connor were talking about it, and they were excited to go there, and they're talking about things like car counts and this and that, because they look at the way we do. Like, it wasn't that usual NASCAR Race Hub propaganda network thing, where all is good with the sport. Like, you can tell Connor doesn't give a rat's ass, and you can tell Dale Jr. That's why Dale Jr. gave him the platform. It's like, here, guys, that's what Dale does. He thinks if you got something to say, he'll give you a platform to say it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but and that brings us into SRX, where the Blaneys are going to race against each other, Doug. And they got all us pre-race Blaneys and blah 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 blah. Lap and a half in, Ryan gets taken out. So he's done. Okay. Pops decided to put on a show because that track, it was slow. It was one of those, they drop the green and they don't really speed up.
Yep.
But that's just the way Sharon is. It's wide, it's flat. Apparently, when they got it, they shortened it. I think it was a half mile, now it's 3/8.
Mm-hmm.
But Dave was on the outside, just in the end, burning up his rears as a result of doing it. But he was up front in the first heat and just like showing it how it's. And Chase Elliott was in the race, and he was running the bottom right. And you can tell that someone's been spending a lot of time in dirt midgets over the last couple of years, Doug, because Chase Elliott, I have to say, you guys become, especially when we're watching all equally prepared cars.
Yeah.
Of course, they're making a big deal out of Chase Elliott. I'm like, well, yeah, but these other guys are all retired, too. Like, let's keep that in mind.
Oh, exactly, yeah.
I should say not all retired, because apparently in IndyCar is like NASCAR in the 80s. You can win a race at age 50.
Yeah.
So, but it was pretty good to see, and they did get another car out there for Ryan later on. Him and somebody else was taken out. Oh, Matt Kenseth, I think, was out for most of the night too. Paul Tracy was switched from the electric green to lavender, so it's a newer, gentler Paul Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, he does have that new wine sponsor as well, right?
Yeah. So, but good racing. I think I really enjoy those cars more on dirt than asphalt. And the track held up pretty good. Ryan Newman, was coming down, and this is the big thing because you had Ryan Newman doing well late in the season, and Marco Andretti, Mr. Second Place. Hey, Marcy. Marco's just been nailing the seconds. We were talking about, I think, both on and off air. And so he was leading the points going in. And again, as much as I've kind of slagged that guy in the past, because he was kind of, he seemed to have a bit of an ego for not producing as much, But then I think he's kind of realized he is a bit of a Kyle Petty in a sense where it's not all about racing with him, because he does get distracted because he does like to jet set a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Which, okay, if you can afford it, I get it. But after the race, long story short, Chase Elliott wins the main, and that's great and stuff. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm like, again, he's like young and a cup champion, like he should win the race in theory. Yep. But Marco Andretti during one of the cautions got nailed, Doug, got his thumb caught in the wheel, broke his wrist. Stayed in the race and managed to finish one spot behind Newman to win the title. And the whole time he was just trying to ignore it, but you see the whole time he's just holding his wrist. He's like, and he just said offhand, he's like, yeah, I got my thumb, I broke my wrist, but what are you going to do?
Yeah,
I don't know, pull in, because it's not a real freaking series. But he wanted that title, and I thought about it. What's the last title Marco Andretti may have won, like an Atlantic Series or one of those deals?
For sure, yeah.
So I get it, and he's really like, because remember I told you when he announced his retirement from IndyCar, it caught me off guard, and I don't know, dude. I was like, dude, I think this is like 3 years too early. And then they say he's going to be the team's test driver and only do Indy, and immediately it just sounded like another Jimmy Johnson type going, I want to go and try other things. So yeah, so congrats to him, and So Chase Elliott did a damn good job. I watched the race, and it wasn't like he was just, hey, I'm just taking people out, which has been kind of an SRX thing. And all right, I'm not a Chase Elliott fan in any stretch of the mean, but he is rocking that mustache. So, yeah. So that brings us into Sunday.
So which one are you going to do first?
Well, the way things happened, let's see. The Cup race started first. The IndyCar race ended first. But the part that you want to talk about happened after both of them finished, basically.
And that I got in crap for on another show.
Well, because someone texted me at exactly 8 p.m. Sunday.
When I found out, I let you know.
Yes. Guitarman 45 knows because he was sitting in the green room with me at the time.
Anyway.
So I just played the long intro and answered the text. Anyways, yeah, so apparently we don't get qualifying for Cup in Canada anymore. Because that's how that works, because it's not on FS1. That's
it's not, if it was on FS1, then we got it on the Fox Sports Racing.
Yeah. So Kurt Busch crashed in qualifying.
Yes.
Had concussion-like symptoms.
Yes.
Which I get, because technically there is no test for a pass-fail on a concussion. It is you exhibit concussion-like symptoms.
Yeah.
Not like a broken leg where you go, yeah, that's broken.
Yeah.
You don't need a certificate on the wall to know. I can't fix it, but I can tell you it's broken.
Yes.
One of those. So he was out, and young Gibbs, gets to make his Cup debut, and it's the second coming of Dale Jr. all of a sudden, which I would have, play it up, boys.
To be honest with you, though, didn't look too bad out there.
Hell no. When considering, when he was running fourth, which was like 3/4 of the way through the race during pit cycle, doesn't matter. He's on older tires, running around guys with fresher-ish tires, but he was still holding his own. And it wasn't like he was a pylon. He knew when to hold his line and stuff. I thought, it would be funny because if Gibbs was flush with drivers, let's say, right? And Ty if this was 5 years ago, Ty would probably be running in the 45 for a year. The Gibbs adjacent team, right? Before you got into the main team in many ways. So
Reddick wouldn't even be thought of going into 2311.
No, because it would be financially made, the incentives would be more than enough that, look, the kids take it, which I was surprised he didn't do that actually with the trucks, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
I was fully expecting Ty to go into trucks this year, actually, because he ran ARCA last year.
Yeah.
So, but no. But then again, maybe that was the original plan, but they went, damn, he is doing pretty good, so.
Mm-hmm. So he was in there then.
And I like what Jeff Burton was saying, too, which kind of gets back to my let's bring Ty up a year early, because you're not learning anything with the Xfinity cars. You might as well struggle in the new car because they're so different.
Yeah.
And that I agree with. If you're going to rush somebody up, yes, especially this would be the year to do it.
Yeah.
The kid's going, I'm struggling here. Don't worry, everyone is. There's no bar set. It'd be set so low. So, who knows? Maybe that's why a bunch of fellas are hunting around for some charters.
More on that later.
Yeah.
So, for me, again, like I said, all three races were just kind of like, with a wreck. And
And that, only because Cup's longer, it was with a couple of wrecks.
Yeah, and there's the one wreck that everyone's talking about.
Well, there's a few because so apparently it's just okay to drive around the end of pit road and drive up backwards.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
that's okay now.
I guess, yeah.
Or get towed in and get still just put two. Used to be if you were on a hook, that's the repair clock. Yeah, you can't switch tires in the garage area.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you always did the pit stop and then push it into the garage.
Yeah.
So yeah, rules are getting twisted and bent and all over the place this year. So and others are getting very, very strict. More on that later.
Yeah. So the one wreck that everyone's talking about is the guys who have been at it all year, can we say?
Well, apparently Denny says he's got wrecked by him at least 4 times. So
now, is this a wreck? Is this a wreck, or was it on purpose?
Oh, it was on purpose, I think, because Denny basically admitted as much.
As I believe it was Junior said during the race that was kind of old school. You give him just enough room for him to wreck himself.
Yeah. Well, like I say, you have the choice of backing out, or you continue in, and you're probably going to get pinched out.
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, is you could do the dangerous thing if you sometimes door slam someone to the left. That's when all of a sudden, they turn left, and well, that's when you end up doing the 12 barrel rolls down the back of Pocono, because we've seen that happen too.
Yeah.
Or pink. You don't want to. It's easy to pull a Gregson in that respect too.
Yeah.
Except it wouldn't because Pocono is much more self-cleaning there.
In saying that, watching a little bit of a clip from the Dale Jr. download today, he went and was talking about how him and Mike Davis were talking about what's the difference between Chase Elliott wrecking LaJoie, which Dale Jr. said was okay. Dale Jr. wasn't so okay with Denny just giving him enough room for him to wreck himself.
Well, see that, and Denny did the thing that you do, which is he never said he wrecked him. He just said it looked like he ran out of asphalt.
Yep.
Which is a total Dale Earnhardt thing to say after putting someone in the wall. Oh, I guess he just ran out of real estate.
Yep.
And they asked Denny, is it over? And he said, I've been wrecked a lot, and I'm sick of being wrecked a lot. And until I get respect, and I don't know if he has Ross's respect or not, because Ross just said it's not over because he knows he's going to get pounded 10 more times, and that might just be from Denny. So,
well, he's got
Ross, you can tell, has already written off this season. He already knows I'm not going to win the title. I am where I am.
There's a long list of people who want to get at him. But
exactly.
But yeah. So the two the two Gibbs cars were a couple of the strongest cars out there all day.
You know what I didn't see all day?
What?
An in-car shot of them shifting.
Correct.
Weird, eh?
Yeah.
What's up with that coverage? That's just weird as watching SRX, and they kept doing one shot, and you would see another camera right here. I'm like, well, what's that camera for? It's 4 feet from the camera on shot. It's like, why? For 3D? I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know.
Ooh, well, you drive a big rig, don't you, Blackjack Guitar? 18 speed. That's all the speeds. Yeah, again, it was kind of the same thing, kind of little races within the race, but and again, I don't know, it seemed to be broken up because it was with the stages and stuff. You do a fuel run during a stage, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, so there was no, at least with a road course or a longer stage where there's a fuel run, do I stay out? Do I pit? Stuff like that. Different strategies. I think because IndyCar racing is so boring, normally, they emphasize on the strategies to death. So, and I think, us growing up and watching both, it's something we both always have paid attention to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, oh, that guy's off strategy. Oh, okay. You're like, oh, it's a bunch of guys in T-shirts that can't even afford fire suits. All right, they're going for broke already. It's lap 4. All right, screw it, throw the day. It was always like whoever Bobby Daughter was crewing for. It's like, well, we're going for it. Or Junie Dunleavy, always rolling dice on something. So, yeah. Other than that, we thought we had a winner.
Yes.
We saw Denny Hamlin celebrating with his daughter. If she isn't already into racing, she's already figured out how to hold a checkered flag.
Oh, yes.
Because I can, especially when I see kids, I'm like, oh, don't drop it, because they'll lose it. First of all, they'll lose it because they drop it and think it's gone forever. Yeah. But it's like, but nope, she was 2 fisting her, and
at times she would take that second fist off and just have the one.
Yep, and as Jeff Burton pointed out, and I thought too when I was watching her get in the car, and then she got an old school 1 foot in and then the head in, like 80s style. And I was like, or it was Steve Letarte pointed that out.
Yeah.
And I was like, yep, she did. And so that was interesting. And but post race, apparently a couple of cars put a little tape on the grill.
Well, let's get into that a bit. So I guess with the teardown, they take the wrap off, which I was not aware of. And then
because they're like a Russian doll. They just have layers under them.
So what the infraction was a piece of clear tape 2 inches by 5 inches that was just on the lower fascia of the
but it was over part of the grill portion
of an opening on the grill portion that was covered by the wrap.
Now, was that grill or that port opening allowed to be covered by the wrap, though?
Apparently, well, we've never heard of this before.
Well, yeah, but maybe everybody's been cutting that area out of the wrap prior.
Well, they, according to Scott Miller, with Moody yesterday, is that they take that wrap off to check that hole, or to be able to, or whatever. So, if there's already a wrap covering the hole, what is something underneath that wrap?
That's what I would like to know on. Yeah, because if it's like we'll think of the area as like on the old cars as the brake duct opening, right? Yep. That was optional. You tape off or not. Okay. And we know with the new car, because we learned earlier this season when the guy went, hey, just slap a little piece of tape on the grill, to tighten or to loosen it up a bit.
Yeah.
No, you were not allowed to do it, which I still think is dumb.
So
what does that, just for my 10-second side rant, a roll of duct tape you can buy it at the dollar store.
Yeah.
Like you're not cost cutting by not being able to tape off that area at all. So I have an issue with that, first of all.
So after Miller explained what the issue, what the penalty was, because Gibbs had already said that they were not going to appeal the penalty, which so he's able to then now free to talk about it. Was that Moody then asked him the question, well, does that tape being underneath the wrap have any aero? Is there any aero advantage?
Because it might make it stiffer, maybe. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
The answer to that kind of shocked me a bit. We don't know. We've never tested for that before. We don't know what that would do to the car.
Right.
Okay, so if you don't know what it would do to the car,
why was it there in the first place?
This is NASCAR saying it.
Yeah.
Right? So if they don't know, then how can it be a big penalty for it then if you don't think that it's,
Yeah, that's what I'm curious. Like if it's a hole that can be covered with the wrap, but the wrap say bubbles in or something, and they all bubble in the same because they all use the same wraps.
Yeah.
But if the tape makes it stiffer, I'd like to know why it was there in the first place. That's the big thing is and I don't think they'll find, because Gibbs is obviously not. That's why they won't appeal, because they don't want to have to basically testify why that tape was there in the first place.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. The only thing I think of is, like, say, to make it a more rigid surface.
Well, what they've come out with, and the standard thing would be it was a mistake on their part, right?
Mistakes happen, and
It was an oversight, right? But still,
yeah,
the way Miller said that, we don't know what that actually does.
I bet you they'll know by the end of the week.
Well, yeah, but it's just, for me, like, they say that they've done everything with these cars, they know everything about these cars, but then to say you don't know.
Hey, I noticed NBC finally has an actual car.
We've never tested for this before.
Right. Like I said, I bet you they're testing this week.
Maybe. Then the other thing that put a burr in my ass with this as well was that Moody then asked the next question. Will you test the 9 and the 8 as well? Do they then get tested in this process?
No.
No, but because they've already left the track.
Yeah, because basically chain of custody type situation. There's no way to verify the car is still in the same condition as when it came off the track.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Well, remember, it used to be the old thing. Oh yeah, when guys would be like flaring out in front of the rear wheels.
Yep.
Right. How many times in victory lane they're standing close and the crew members just beating on it,
Yep.
or hey, congratulations, Jimmy Johnson, hip check the fender, and like. We used to see that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I understand that once it leaves the track, there's no point. Once it leaves the track, you don't know because they can undo everything before, unless you raid the place. Type that you got a surprise that show up.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it just, and we've talked about this before, the Denny ties the 9 car in points now, or even almost takes the lead. To go ahead of him in the standings, and then it's the 9 that gets the win, and then NASCAR's like, no, he's good. We're not gonna look at that car or do anything with that car.
Well, like I said, I understand why they aren't looking at it because, like I said, once it leaves track, there's no point in looking at it.
But if it's not out yet, I guess there is the leaks in NASCAR anyway. But I was gonna say, if it's not out what the penalty was, it's in the hauler. You got to reroute to the shop, or else you're gonna, your hauler driver's got to stay where he's at.
That was what you have to, because all the hauler driver do is, what do I got to pull off the car before I deliver it? And Chad Knaus would be like, you need to remove this and this and this.
Again, if it was something under the wrap like that, you're going to be able to tell that wrap has been moved.
Yeah.
Oh, right, because that wrap is not
going to go. We snagged on it when we were loading it up, Doug. Didn't you know we snagged on it when we were loaded up?
Yeah.
We didn't know that's where you wanted to look.
And I'm going to agree with Keith there, because they only do, and Miller says, we can't do all the cars because it's everything. Well, you know what?
Well, they don't even have inspectors in all the pits anymore.
Yeah.
And again, with the lack of, I don't know, like, as much as I like some of the coverage by NBC, like, what was it when the 24 lost the tire? And they're like, oh, why did he get the penalty? I'm like, did you not see the tire roll into the 43's pits? I did.
Yeah.
And then they got, that rule where sometimes you can lose the tire and sometimes you can't. And, so anyway, So for the first time since 1960, the race winner has been disqualified from the race.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on to that brings us into IndyCar race number 2.
Do we want to do that was not the only penalty on Sunday?
No, but the other one was announced today, so we're not there yet. Yeah, we're still on Sunday.
Well, there was other penalties that were announced on Friday, I believe.
Okay.
The petty GMS cars, they had issues as well.
Yes, they did, didn't they?
I forget what it was though.
Yeah, but it was pre-race, so they just tossed the crew chiefs.
Yeah.
Which is that's kind of we've seen that with the 9 a lot, so that's nothing new.
Yeah.
For race number 2 at Iowa, they gave him an extra 50 laps for Newgarden to dominate because they dropped the green flag, and actually Will Power was out front first. He tweaked on the car a little.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Johnson's team rewrapped their car different sponsor for the second day. Why not?
Well, which we've seen, we that's nothing new because we've seen that in NASCAR last year at Long Pond for the Pocono race because they did the doubleheader back-to-back days.
A little harder with the Indycars. You have to completely disassemble all the suspension because you have to get in on it. Like, oh yeah, they took it right down to a bare tub.
Okay, well, because NASCAR just was wrapped it a second time.
Yeah,
they had a second wrap on it.
Oh no, they took one off and put the other on.
Okay,
yeah, it's like, oh, okay, probably for weight. Those cars are so.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So, Willpower was up for a Pato Award. Was in the hunt as well, and of course Newgarden, and the three of them were just half a second a lap faster, which on a 22 second lap track doesn't take long to lap the field, especially when they start single file and restart single file and this and that. We had a couple crashes as what happened. Guys got up in the marbles and I can't steer anymore. Saw a few saves. Cars are very forgiving because a few hinges in the booth, like, oh, because you see, and usually that means your day's done, and Jimmy did it a few times, and I can't believe Jimmy Johnson's driving this well, basically, because if you don't, you just see, whoa, okay, we're a little loose, one of those, and this and that, and then Newgarden, they show him, and he's just, oh yeah, and so he was doing fine until, Jimmy noticed in turn one. Jimmy tried to bring NASCAR into it, like at Richmond where you'd hug the left front on the paint.
Yep.
Well, apparently if you do that with an IndyCar, it does the loop-de-loop, but Jimmy didn't hit anything when he did it, and that's how he was able to finish in the top 10.
No, you got a top 5 second race.
Yeah. So, I'm talking the first race he spun out early in the race.
Oh, okay.
Didn't hit anything. Yeah. And then Newgarden, something similar, although it might have been the end because there was a puff of smoke, it looked like, but it was the tire drain, like the left rear locked up. So it was hard hit. Mm-hmm. Newgarden, he did an interview after he came in the infield care center. Seemed okay. And then, half an hour later, let's say, Pato Award wins the race.
Yep.
And that's all fine. Here's how the points are going. And holy crap, I thought they were going to show the damn concert post-race. We've seen concerts pre-race, but they got the stage out, because Hy-Vee had a bunch of acts all weekend. It was really cool. It sounded like they did it like Coke 600 style, Doug.
Yeah.
It looked like. I was like, oh, wow. You just don't see that with IndyCar. And then apparently you had messaged me at 8 p.m.
Yes.
That Newgarden fell and did not break his fall. It sounded like.
No, he was walking into his coach,
right,
and just passed out, hit the ground, and then they airlifted him to the local hospital there. So, and then that's the last I had heard of that.
I believe he was released yesterday. They kept him overnight, but I'm assuming now this could be a big deal because he was up there in the points.
Yeah.
Will he be running Indy this coming weekend? Because this weekend we have Indy and NASCAR all together in one.
Yep.
So hopefully, we'll see on that. So that covers our 7 races. Wow, 48 minutes for 7 races. Not bad. Okay. And that gets us into one of your drivers that you keep an eye on. Didn't call him your favorite.
He was starting to flutter with the possibility if he won a race.
Well, he was flirting in that top 10 near the end of the race there, and
we now know why. Because the 34 team of Front Row Motorsports penalized 100 driver points, 100 owner points, and then Blake Harris, who skipped out on the 19 team to go over to Front Row Motorsports, fined $100,000 for a level 2 penalty, which I'm not sure which part it was, but one of the parts that you cannot play with.
They played with it.
They played with it.
Yeah, you can't. No,
you can't do that.
You can't.
So,
and, I noticed this was the first week too that NBC had their car, to do a lap, unlike the virtual car that the Fox guys had. But then I realized the parts shortage. Most teams didn't have enough cars, so Fox wasn't getting one. But now they got enough. They probably parted together some of Denny's wreck cars or something. They're like, here, take this. Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem very good, but yeah.
Just another thing to add on with that 34 team.
Yes.
If they happen to win a race and make the playoffs,
right,
they'll be docked 10 playoff points as well.
Okay. Which means we're looking at you, Daytona. Well, and this weekend and next weekend, because Michael McDowell has road racing experience and has won on a restrictor plate track. So, and it's nothing but road courses and restrictor plates the rest of the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
So, also, I'm seeing multiple reports that Eric Jones is close to signing a multi-year extension with Petty, with a sponsor announcement as well. Like, it's one of those deals. So, which, Doug, that's comfortable. It's one thing to sign with a team multi-year, but when the sponsor signs on as well, then it's just like, whoo! All right, we don't have to think about anything until 2026.
Exactly.
So that's good to see. Kyle Busch has still not re-signed with Gibbs. Hearing all kinds of rumors and innuendos on that. The most common resurfacing is if he doesn't re-sign with Gibbs, he may be going to Stuart Haas in the 41. I've also heard
some people have tried to put that he's going to RCR. I can't see that happening.
No. Not if Toyota can help it. See, and that's where Toyota comes in, because also someone had, and it kind of makes sense, is because Toyota has money. Toyota puts up the money for a charter for the 2311 to have Kyle Busch.
Yeah.
Okay. Or if, because room at the end thing, because maybe Kurt wants to run next year and then retire, where does Kyle go?
Mm-hmm.
A couple of people mentioned, how about Kyle runs for the factory Lexus sports car team in the IMSA series? He goes GT racing for a year, or Grand Am racing, whatever you want to call it, sports car racing for a year.
Yeah.
Which, okay, I know
that the other hindrance in this whole thing with Gibbs as well is sure, there's the sponsor money to come in, but the money that he's commanding to drive.
And that was the other thing, because I actually heard and know a current driver's salary, because Kyle Busch is making $14 million this year.
Yep.
That's a chunk of change, considering a top sponsor is what, 25.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you got to look at that sponsor money going to the driver, because it's not like you look at the purse. Hey, we got that money coming in every week.
Yeah.
I bet you ain't making no $14 million in purse money a year.
Not at all.
So Haas has the money. Also, Kurt's driven the 41 as well.
Yep.
If you want to call it some form of relationship there, and I will, because there is a connectability in some ways.
Yeah.
They're familiar with each other. And even the sports car thing, I wouldn't rule it out, because Kyle's already got 2 titles, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like, he doesn't have that drive that, say, Denny has, where you're facing down the end of the career and never had a title.
But, I'm trying to think, does he have a Truck Series driver's title?
No.
He has an owner's championship.
Yes, several, I bet.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, as he said, I was thinking that as well too. With going to SHR, him and Tony are kind of the same mentality.
Yeah.
But
the interesting thing was, Gene Haas was spotted at Pocono at the track, and he never goes to NASCAR races.
No.
So that was why is he there?
Yeah. But Kyle does have that fallback of the Truck Series.
He does.
Where he knows an owner of a team.
Yeah. I think he can find a ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, he will not. Hell, I could even see him doing an Xfinity deal too, if he wanted to.
It'd piss a lot of people off, but hey.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it remains to be seen there with Kyle. But, Cole Custer's going, what? All of a sudden. But then I would assume Cole would move over to the 10. Because
You could.
do we have a driver announced for the 10 yet for next year?
There has not. No.
No.
Been nothing.
Right. So we shall see on that. Other news. Still no clarification with the driver in IndyCar that's both signed to Ganassi and McLaren. Mm-hmm. Apparently the lawyers are hard at work at that one.
Yeah. And now you'd also said that there's a couple other teams looking at charters as well.
Several teams looking at charters now. At least 3 teams looking for what we figured at least 4 charters. Being Colleague is looking for 1 at least.
Yeah.
Which I get, because you'd want to have at least that old school, that 2-car team seems to work pretty good in today's NASCAR. Minimum 2-car, 4 is nice,
Yeah.
So much like IndyCar was that way, right? We've seen that since the 80s, the 2-car team, or Formula One, same deal. 2-car teams do work in that respect, especially with the amount of technology sharing. It's not like, hey, I own 2 cars, but they're in 2 different towns. Like how many times do you hear that back in the day? Like multiple teams, their shops aren't even in the same zip code.
Look no further than 2311, how much better they're doing this year with the 2nd car.
Yeah, that's true. Now, part of that could be the car, but, or Trackhouse.
Good driver. Yeah.
Look at Trackhouse last year to this year.
Well, true.
Because Suarez was right up in there as well this weekend. Again.
Yep.
Colleague is looking at 1 at least. We know Junior Motorsports is shopping for a couple.
Well, we know what they're doing anyway. We've already said
they're going to buy RCR too.
Yeah, they're buying RCR. Yeah. And DEI 2 will be coming back with the 3 and the 8. Just to bring all the
RCR will be good in the NASCAR world.
Yes.
That would have to shut up a lot of belly aching.
That would the tattoo removal would be will be in full.
What do you want? This 88 removed? No, just one of the 8s.
Just 1 8. I want the 8 now back in the center of my arm. I don't want to have it the 1 8
or do you hang on to that? Because if Junior decides to run once or twice a year, he'll probably run the 88.
Yes, he will.
So
could do that.
And then also 2311 is looking for another charter. We kind of figured as much because they've signed Tyler Reddick. You have Bubba Wallace, who's also young, and Kurt's still winning. So
but Kurt did do some media last week, saying that he could be a consultant for 2311 Racing, helping them with their kind of media stuff, their media training for their younger drivers or whatever.
Well, he's been forced to attend a lot of those type of courses over the years.
Yes. he's had some experience with it. But there's that. And he had a meeting in New York to go to with Fox as well.
Oh, probably for the trucks.
About broadcasting.
Yeah.
So,
see you, Mikey.
So it could be, that could be in his very near future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, especially run 1 more year and then Tyler moves in.
And he was really thinking that. And just that last question that's come up from Blackjack Guitar. Yes, it will be next year at the Busch Clash.
Yes.
Which, when that was all announced, you then got the people come out, well, it's not going to be the same because they want the noise of the car. They don't want quiet. But
you know what? The garage area would be a hell of a lot. It'll allow us to sleep in the infield.
Yeah.
No plug checks at 7 in the morning.
But they also talked about this car that's going to be coming into the Busch Series. That's right, the Busch. At the end of the Busch Clash with the Cup guys is that the electric part of it, that energy is just going to be energy brought from somewhere else. Is what they're going with. So energy from the brakes is going to be put into another part of the car.
Yeah, it'll be a boost as opposed to only
So that's
like
what they're
Formula
going
One
with
had
correct.
for years with the curve system. Same deal. It's
Yep.
like a push to pass, which, hey, I'm all for. That's one thing I do enjoy with IndyCar was the 2 different tires and the push to pass.
Yep.
They keep talking about, we can't get past, the aero push for years. Can you imagine if you had push to pass, which now that we're all fuel injected, we can do that shit.
Mm-hmm.
You get X amount of extra horsepower. Okay. It'll make the lap a green-white checker. Ooh, you know what? What's a lap time on this track? 30 seconds. All right, 2 laps. All right, so I'm going to keep 60 seconds in the. Let me know when I get down to about 60 seconds of push to pass. I want to save on that because the green-white checkered, I'm going to use it the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And different tires would be interesting too. You got to run a set of the red walls. All of a sudden, boom, you're half a second a lap faster.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, yeah, but you would always have. Then that eliminates the idea of a 2-tire stop. You can't do that. And I don't know if they actually. I don't think they do the different tires on ovals anyway. So it's just more road and street.
Mm-hmm.
Which, hey, Gates still fine. Look, I'm fine with center lug. It's it's been around for decades. I just want them to get onboard jacks too. Why not? They basically look like a sports car now. So why not have all the advantages of a sports car?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Other than that, you got a pick for Indy weekend?
It is not the favorite that everyone is going with right now.
I'm going to go with last year's winner. He's going to go back-to-back years. AJ Allmendinger.
Possibility, yes. But the odds makers are saying that that Chase is the favorite to win.
Yeah, because he's won all the road courses this year, right?
No. Yeah.
No.
But yeah,
I'm going to say keep an eye both on your boy and Harvick.
Yes.
Now we're getting down to crunch time.
Going back to feuds, will Chase Briscoe and Denny renew their feud from last year?
That is a possibility. That is a possibility. Oh no, it's because Blaney is chill. He has a temper, but he gets over it really fast. It was funny because you didn't see it, Doug, because you didn't watch SRX. He and his dad were saying how they both have a short fuse, but they get over things really quick.
Was it last year we seen that with Blaney?
Yeah, like literally when he got out of the car all pissed off, and within 2 minutes he's cool.
Oh no, that was this year at the Busch Clash. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So when they were talking about his father and son, I'm like, yeah, we've seen it.
Yeah.
He did. Yeah. The guy, he's beyond chill in many ways. Although he's getting toward Dennyville where he's sick of getting used up.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. And especially when we're getting down to crunch time, like especially Daytona. My money's going to be on Blaney because I don't think he's fuck it. I'm gone. Yeah. I got to do this. So, yeah, we will see on that. I'm going to go, Allmendinger, but keep it on. Harvick's been running well. I don't know.
Well, Harvick was in that wreck with Hamlin and Chastain there.
Yeah. And he was running well before it, and he has been 3 weeks in a row. And I don't know, can Bass Pro Shops sponsor your guy for a week? Because I'm sick of his Karma Chameleon paint schemes because first I think he's Kyle Busch. This week I think he's Christopher Bell constantly. I'm like, I can't see the damn number.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it. You moved the number forward. You made the logo of the sponsor so big. I just assume I can't see the number in any form of distance.
Yeah.
So get your shit together. Especially old chrome numbers, great, which are essentially invisible.
Hopefully he's back in the Bass Pro Shop car.
Or maybe it's going to be the auto insurance. That's the other one. Oh, okay, he's in the powder blue car. Fine.
That will be the Moody blue car.
Yeah. Oh, it's just looks like one of Dave Marcus's cars. What Dave Marcus is up to? They should get him out for a race.
Actually, according to the entry list,
Yeah.
he will have a blank car this weekend.
Oh, and there's 2 extra cars showing up this weekend too.
Yes.
Ex-Formula 1 driver, and the guy who has the money to hire the ex-Formula 1 driver in the 26 and 27 cars.
Joey Hand will be in the
15 for Rick Ware Racing.
Yes.
I figured, I'd do you a solid.
Yeah. Loris
in the 16.
Loris Edmonds in the 27, and I know it was just announced in the 26. They don't have it.
Yeah, I literally found out about 6:30 this evening. Ex-Formula 1 in the 26.
With the 26 being a Toyota and the 27 being a Ford.
That's weird.
For the same owner. Sorry, not the same owner.
Well, there's part of that. It's not Herzog Racing, but something.
Yeah. Sorry, no, it is the same team.
Yeah.
For the organization, but the crew chiefs will be. Let me get back to it here. Josh Rayom on the 26, and Mike Gramke on the 27.
Well, because what it is a guy wanted to get into cup racing, and he's having the Rayom brothers prepare the vehicles for Formula 1 drivers.
Yes.
They're trying to do like that Project 91 thing.
Yes. Yep.
Ain't gonna work. Anywho's, on that note,
they get a lot of toaster strudel though.
Yeah. Happy off season to the SRX. We'll see you next June, I guess. And I say back to Indycars and NASCAR all in one facility in one weekend. It's gonna be fun. And I don't know. You got anything else?
I was just checking something out here.
Oh, excuse me. Holy crap, we've gone over an hour.
We did. Just trying to see something really quickly. I can just only see the schedule. I cannot see who actually won.
So while he does that, we have coming up Indy this weekend, Watkins Glen next weekend, Daytona, and then the playoffs.
I can't see who actually won the IWK race this past weekend in Riverside. Right. I know Mike Skinner was up for it, but
could care less.
That's actually a race I want to go to.
Okay.
I've driven by that track so many times on this weekend, but
well, there we are. All right. On that note, if you're new, please subscribe. Thanks as always to everybody that tuned in. Marcy, Terry, Keith, Guitar Man 45, Blackjack Guitar. I said Marcy. Was anybody else in there? I think that was everybody. I don't know, 5 of you. Got 5 watching.
Yeah.
Well, all 5 of you. Jeremy Smith was in here at the top, right? Yeah. Anyways, Harvick and Bush's teammates. Wouldn't be the first time.
No. So.
No, wait, that was a different Bush. Harvick has been teammates with a Bush.
Yes. So let's hope that DeWalt guy this time does not burn his finger, because that's got to start getting hurt.
Man, workman's comp every week.
Every week, yeah.
Single spot.
See you, Marcus.